We're the Foy family from Cork. This is Margaret, I'm Martin. These are our twins, Muireann and Roisin. Since 2013, we've spent an awful lot of time in Our Lady's Children's Hospital in Crumlin and at the Ronald McDonald House on the campus there. Our story begins on the morning of the 10th of January 2013. Margaret was due to give birth to twins by elective section in Cork University Maternity Hospital. We didn't know whether the twins were going to be girls or boys, but like most parents, and I suppose every first-time parent, we left the house full of hope and joy and expectation and went to the hospital. The girls were delivered, and even in the delivery room it became apparent that Roisin, which was one of the girls, had some health issues which would have to be dealt with. She was transferred to the neonatal intensive care, and there they realised that the issues that needed to be attended to were ones that couldn't be addressed in Cork and would have to be addressed in Our Lady's Children's Hospital in Crumlin. Margaret had a section, and because of that she would have to stay in Cork for 5 days. So I headed off with Roisin the following day to Crumlin. We knew she was sick, but we thought it was something that would be fixed over a short period of time, and everyone was confident she'd be home within a week. So we got to Crumlin on the Friday evening, and on Friday night things changed very dramatically. Roisin became critically ill. You know, we'd left our home 24 hours earlier, and before we'd left, I remember looking and walking around it. Margaret had done this fabulous job and made this beautiful home for these little children that were going to come into it. When things became critical for Roisin, all our hopes had changed. Our hope had become despair, our joy had become terror, and it set us on a road which was certainly the one that led us to the greatest crisis in our lives. Roisin developed a heart problem the night she arrived in Crumlin, and what was due to be a 3 or 4 week stay ultimately became a 2-month stay, and it was to be the first of many over the first 5 years of her life. Roisin had heart surgery on the Monday morning. She was 4 days old, and unfortunately Margaret couldn't come to Dublin until the following day, which was the Tuesday. Thankfully she got through the heart surgery, but on the Tuesday when Margaret was free to come to Dublin, all of a sudden we realised we had nowhere to stay in the hospital. There was some accommodation in the hospital itself, but we had a 5-year-old twin girl in Cork who needed to be looked after, and wherever she was going to be, Margaret needed to be, and we needed to be together. More importantly, at that stage, Roisin was fighting for her life. She was in the intensive care unit known as PICO2 in Our Lady's, and I remember one of the nurses saying to me, things were looking up. We were now going from minute to minute. Before that, we'd been going from breath to breath and second to second. There was another chap in the ICU in the heart ward, a chap called Gareth, and he kept telling me that I would have to go over to this house called the Ronald McDonald House. I had no idea what he was talking about. All I knew was I was trying to get Margaret and our other little girl to Crumlin so that we could be together. At that stage, Margaret had never held Roisin, and I suppose I had 2 great fears. One is that Roisin would leave us, and the second was that she would leave us before ever having had a hug from her mum. So eventually, to keep Gareth quiet and for no other reason, I went to this place called the Ronald McDonald House with my sister, and that visit was to change our lives over the course of the next 5 years, and it was our first introduction to the Ronald McDonald House. So I went over to the Ronald McDonald House and I met the house manager. I'd come out of the hospital in Crumlin, walked a minute, less than a minute perhaps, on the Crumlin campus, and met this fantastic modern building that provides home for 20 families when their children are critically ill. And straight away I knew that once we could get a room in the Ronald McDonald House, we could be together. We were facing into the most difficult time of our lives. We didn't know, the doctors didn't know whether Rosie was going to make it or not. But for me, and I speak for Margaret I think in this as well, and for even our extended family, knowing we could be together facing this crisis was the single most important thing. And without the Ronald McDonald House, there was no way that Margaret could have brought a newborn baby and stayed in Crumlin. That aside, being together being the most important thing, the next most important thing is proximity to the hospital for us. When you have a child who could leave you at any time, being 10 minutes away, 10 minutes walk, 10 minutes taxi ride, it may as well be 2 hours. It makes no difference. You want to be in the ward as long as you can, and when you have to leave the ward, you want to be as close to that ward as you can. And for me, that was one of the fantastic things about Ronald McDonald House. I knew that I could go to the house and that if Rosie needed me, that I could be back with her in under 90 seconds. I timed it often enough. But they were the first benefits. But our days became weeks and our weeks became months in the Ronald McDonald House. And you know, it provides so many things more than just proximity. They're fantastic rooms, they're ensuite rooms, simple things that a lot of people take for granted. I had never held Myrn till she got to the Ronald McDonald House. I'd never changed her nappy. I'd never given her a shower. And these were all normal dad things that I was able to do, watched by Margaret, and yet being close enough to Rosie if we got the call to go straight away to her. There's fantastic kitchen facilities and a wonderful team of volunteers who cook meals regularly, lunch and dinner, and a great team in the house. And you know, it's an unusual situation because you are under the greatest pressure that you ever will be in your life. And the people you meet in these situations, and particularly the staff of the house, they had done all this before. They had seen countless families like ours come and go, some with good results, some with bad results, but they knew exactly what to do for us. They knew when to talk to us, they knew when to let us alone, they knew when to give us a bit of support, they knew when to give us encouragement. So not alone did they do the running of the house, but they became like an extended part of our family. The other families in the house were absolutely fabulous to us. This was our first time experiencing critical illness at any level, be it paediatric or adult or geriatric. And we met 19 other families who were all that little bit further down the road than us and who could all give us fantastic advice about coping and how to deal with situations, and who looked out for us as we were the newbies in the place. Over the course of our time in the Ronald McDonald House, we have met some of the most inspirational people that we've ever encountered in our lives. People like Marion Carl, the CEO, who has volunteered on a full-time basis for the last 17 years. People who we've never met who come in and cook a dinner. People who come in and clean or provide maintenance services. And obviously the other parents and their families, and none more so inspirational than the sick children. We met children who are waiting in the house for a year, maybe for a heart transplant, children who are undergoing all sorts of treatment and care for serious and terminal illnesses. And those people showed us how to get through this crisis and how to be in a position that maybe after a few weeks or a few months, when we became established in the house, that we could help other families coming in. So it's not just about shelter, it's not just about proximity. It is about being together with your family, and it is about a phenomenal level of support from a range of people that you never thought would be there to help you when you most needed it.
So the Ronald McDonald House meant so much to us in the very beginning when the girls were born. It meant that we were all together in the house, that we were so close to the hospital that we could come and go. Rosie needed the breast milk, so I was able to go over during the day and feed Rosie, and then be so close to the house that I could get back in the evening to feed Myrn, our other twin. We didn't have to worry about the domestic things in the house. We were fed. There was volunteers coming in during the day to feed us. We didn't have to worry about any of that, so we could concentrate on our family. So that meant so much to us. And I just want to thank the house for everything they did for us.
We're a long way now from that morning in January 2013 when our crisis started. The home that we had left that morning, that Margaret had done up so well, didn't turn out to be our first family home. Our first family home was a building and a community of people in Crumlin at the Ronald McDonald House that I had never heard of. Over the last 5 years, they have been there for us every time we've needed them. In times of crisis, knowing that we could go to the Ronald McDonald House, and there have been many times over the last 5 years, has been a huge source of support and a huge source of help to us when we've needed it most. 5 years later, Rosie is bouncing around. She still has a lot of challenges and will have them going forward, but she's a happy little girl, and we feel a huge debt of gratitude to the clinical people we have met in the hospital and to the many, many countless inspirational people we have met in our journeys through Ronald McDonald House. We felt we had to do something to acknowledge what they had done for us, to help the house, and in our own small way to try and help families who would be starting a journey that we had started 5 years ago. Margaret and I decided we would offer whatever time we could and whatever support we could to the house, and because of that, I'm currently one of the parent representatives on the board. It's great to see the work that goes on in the background that we never knew as parents and the families living in the house, and the phenomenal work again by a board who volunteers to run this charity and to make the house work at the level it does for families like ours. We felt it's the least we can do, and maybe in some small way we can help the next family coming into the house.